So, friends, I'm here with Amy Hawn Nelson. Amy, welcome.
Thank you.
And you were just named a Charlottean of the Year. That's a really cool thing. I think the reason you were named that is because of the research that you've done and reported on, you've been talking about around the community, about the achievement gap in our schools and segregation. It's also interesting because you're a parent yourself, and you've been a teacher in a high-poverty school, so you know a good bit about this. So clearly, our schools have resegregated in recent years. I mean, is that a bad thing for children in high-poverty schools?
So I think when talking about segregation, it's important to note that there are benefits of desegregation, right? I mean, that's why it's a policy, a public policy that's put into place. But I think what people often forget is that there are harms of segregation, real, measurable, tangible harms.
When a lot of children are concentrated in a high-poverty school.
And there's a range of social science evidence across every discipline. I mean, children educated in high poverty and high segregated environments are more likely to be criminal justice involved. They're more likely to be low-wage earners for their entire life. They're, pretty much every outcome you can imagine, it's less. It's a lower outcome.
And it's the kind of thing in the faith community we ought to care about just in and of itself, because in Christianity and Judaism, other faith traditions, we have this idea that the community matters more than the individual, that we're part of a community. We need to care for everyone. There's this Hebrew word in the Old Testament that's translated justice, and the word is mishpat. And what mishpat means isn't that everybody gets what they deserve. It's that the poorest, the neediest are cared for. That's a just society. So in the faith community, we're interested in a just society. And all my life I've heard solutions to the achievement gap and what do we do in schools and it's class size and throwing money at it. But actually, there's just one thing that actually helps. And tell us about that.
So there's so much research on schooling outcomes, and we know it works. If you look at the history of the achievement gap, the only time there was a narrowing of the achievement gap nationally, and this is both our data and national data, is during desegregation years. So, and there were many causes of this. It wasn't just desegregation. It was policies put into place, but the added benefits of desegregation. So we know it works. It's worked in our own community, our own data, but it's very difficult. It's hard to do because it does take a movement away from the viewing of, my child versus our children. It does take a collective viewpoint.
But isn't it the case, though, that this isn't just about helping the kids on the lower end of the spectrum? It actually helps all children
You're
to
exactly
be in
right.
diverse schools. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my child is in a diverse preschool. She benefits from that. My child is a white middle-class child, right? And she benefits from diversity. It's important to note that all children benefit from diversity. Now, there's disproportionate benefit, and the literature is clear on this, that there's disproportionate benefit for children of color and children who live in poverty. So they benefit more than my child, but my child also benefits.
Doesn't harm.
And there are many studies that have asked this question, and every study is conclusive. There is no harm. Test scores, especially when you look at white middle class children, that scores never decrease. There's not one single study that demonstrates that ever happens.
Well, that's really important because parents rightly are concerned about their children, and they want their children to go to. In talking about this with people, I've had some people tell me anecdotal evidence of, okay, when my child was growing up, they were put in this diverse school, and it was really hard. And one of the things I think about, my wife's told me this. She went to a school, and they desegregated, and she tells me about how hard it was, but she doesn't tell about this, like, this made me miserable and ruined my life. It was this built character. This gave me some wisdom, gave me an understanding of the world.
Yes.
The purpose of education from the faith community perspective isn't just like math and science and reading, but it's also things like wisdom and being able to be part of a community.
Compassion, empathy.
Love. Empathy. I read a line that you said one time about an echo chamber. What was that?
Yeah, so, when we think about how we don't learn in an echo chamber. In an echo chamber, all you hear are your thoughts and beliefs repeated back to you. So it's really important as learners and as people who are going to excel in our diverse, beautiful world that we have, that we only learn by encountering people with different experiences than ours, and different backgrounds and different traditions and different ideas. And so if we're isolated by people that just look and think and have grown up in the same way that we have, we really are missing out on a huge opportunity to learn and to grow as individuals and as a community.
Well, and I say this, within congregations and around Charlotte, there's not a lot of diversity within the congregations, so we need to grow in that area as well. What about within the faith community, a lot of people lean toward private schools. Some congregations even have private schools themselves. What do you make of that? Those are not typically very diverse.
Yeah, I think that schooling is a choice for every family. Every piece of research, every idea that I have around schooling, I also bring my own viewpoints. My own viewpoint is I graduated from public schools. My brothers did. My sister did not. Public schools weren't a good fit for her. My parents had the means to send her to private school, and that was her choice, and it was a good one for her, right? So every parent, if they can, they're going to make choices for their children, and I certainly don't see anything wrong with that.
Right. I like the idea, though, that the best choice I could make for my child might be part of what it means to make the best choice for our city and for other children in the city. Tell me a little bit about some faith-based initiatives that you know about that have worked really well here in Charlotte.
Yeah, we are Charlotte. We're the city of churches, right? And so we do have some what are called gold standard programs here. The most well-known is the McPie Partnership, McClintock Partners in Education. It's a partnership between Christ Lutheran Church and McClintock Middle School in East Charlotte. I would encourage...
We want to grow up to be like them. We all do.
Everyone does. And they've gotten where they are through a host of different reasons. There's actually a great report. It's some research that we did at the Urban Institute on that program. And it was just released last month.
Saw that.
And that's on the CMS website. You can look it up. Another great program, also research we've done in years past, is around Freedom School Partners. Freedom Schools is an evidence-based program, has really strong evidence behind that it serves the needs of kids. And I think the important thing about Freedom School Partners that we found in our own work, and then the evidence bears this out, is that Freedom School Partners doesn't just do a great job with academic performance, but also with social and emotional skills. And a lot of that is through faith-based partnerships.
Freedom School is just wonderful. Well, we love that every summer. Well, Amy, I want to thank you for being with us. What you're sharing should be something of a wake-up call to the faith community. This is the kind of thing we really ought to care about, that wherever our kids are in school, whatever decisions we make, we have a commitment, we have a responsibility to do everything we can to work toward this justice idea, to care for all children that are in our community. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you for your time.
All right.